Good morning, St. John. Speyside, good morning. We thank God for giving each and every one of us the opportunity to be gathered in this place this morning to celebrate Harvest Thanksgiving, St. John, Speyside, Tobago. I too continuously thank God for his pouring out of his blessing upon me that I am able to preach his gospel to all his people. Thank you to my brother and friend, Reverend Father Shaquille Charles, for the invitation, to the rest of the clergy, lay ministers, vestry, the people of St. John, and by extension, the parish of St. Mary. Thank you very much for your continuous hospitality and having me in your presence. Harvesting tomorrow's story through today's wise choices. Harvesting tomorrow's story through today's wise choices. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of all our hearts may it be acceptable in thy sight, O God, whom is our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Harvesting tomorrow through the choices and the things we do today. In this life, my brothers and sisters, every day is a day to plant and a day to harvest. Every day. Sometimes your mango come in today, and the neighbor mango come in tomorrow. And so in this life, every day is a day to plant good seed. And it is also a day, in other words, you can't plant apples and sit down and wait for pomerac tomorrow. There are some people doing that, eh? There are some people doing that. And so Jesus gives us in this morning's gospel the parable of that mustard seed. Though small, it grows up to be the greatest of shrubs. And so like you and I, there are times we are like a mustard seed. We are the smallest in the bunch. But it does not mean that we cannot become the greatest in the garden. But the question is, how do we become the greatest shrub? And so may I ask us the question this morning, what does our seed look like today? Brothers and sisters, let us begin to truly examine ourselves. Today, we can really begin to appreciate the good things that God has done for us. And so let us begin to look at ourselves to see and examine what type of seed am I today. For what seed am I today will tell of the harvest that I will reap tomorrow. So we must be able to tell the whole story. So let me talk the whole story today. And the story begins with us. We are not here to find out what the neighbor planted versus what the neighbor harvested. We are here to examine Like we have learned as children growing up, plant a tree today so that someone else could reap of it tomorrow. So then we must again ask ourselves the question, what is our seed today? Or rather, what does our seed look like today? And so, brothers and sisters, today our seeds is our every action. You hear that? Our seed today is our every action. And what is our every action? What we do is a seed. What we say is a seed. What we think then grows into our future. And so today, now more than ever in our world, we must be mindful of what we do. For what we do today, my brothers and sisters, will indeed interrupt, interfere, or have a good experience tomorrow. What we do with ourselves today as seed will then tell what type of harvest we are going to enjoy tomorrow. What about what we say? What are we saying these days? Because are we aware that words are seeds that plants in the hearts of not only others of whom we tell, but even what we tell ourselves? And so the more we tell ourselves that we are not good and we are not able, is the more unable we are to do God's work. The more we tell ourselves, well, I can't do that, is the more we will not be able to do it. And so what we say, the tongue, the words that we speak, as we say we are called to speak life not only into others but also into our... We're talking about the seed here. We're talking about us. When we look in the mirror in the morning, what do we tell ourselves? Young people, we spend more time trying to make sure the edges are edged well than we tell ourselves that I am wonderfully and beautifully made by God and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so we must be mindful of what we say to ourselves each and every day of our lives, because those are the little seeds that can be reaping the type of harvest we wish to experience later on. So, seeds of the church. What are we saying today about our church? Will in truth tell of the church we will get tomorrow. So be careful what you think about your priests, about your vestry, and even about your own members, because that is the church you will reap tomorrow. Be careful what you think about people in your community, because the more we think ill of each other, the more sick we become. The more we think bad mind of each other, the more bad mind we become. The more we think indifferent of each other, the more indifferent we become. We have to be willing to tell the whole story, you know. We have to be willing to face, this is who I am. And am I the seed that causes division and confusion and bacchanal and commerce? Or am I the seed that what I think, say, and do will continuously bring honor and glory to God our Father in heaven? My brothers and sisters, what then is your seed today? St. John, what is your seed like in the community of Speyside? What is St. John doing that will encourage a better community? What is St. John saying to foster deeper and more intimate relationships? What is St. John thinking? Being perched on a hill and the people at your feet. What are you thinking? For that which we think today can easily grow into our future. The parable of the woman in the East, bread makers. When you put in the East, it means that you have to take your time. Unless you walk up a hurry thing there and you throw it on the baking stone and you want it fast. But when you want good bread and you mix the yeast, it means that it had to rise, but it had to take time. So hurry bird, build shabbiness. We must be able, as good seed, to take our time. We have to wait sometimes. We can't say it here and then it happened right there. We must be able to mix the right measurement. You heard it in the gospel. She mixed the appropriate amount of yeast with the flour. And then sometimes for those of us who learned to bake bread and we forgot to put the yeast, what mommy do after? She do some warm water on the side with a little milk in it, and they mix that in there, and then they throw it and they bring it in. Yes? That's the old people thing. And they bring it in so that the bread could, because kill you dead, yeah, but I need flour. And granny watching the bread, mommy watching the bread are rising, boy. And then in her wisdom, she said, Tasha, you put the yeast. And then you start to count the yeast. And they had their own little remedy of warming the water on the side, mixing it, and then they pour it in. And together we enjoy good bread. Now, you're boasting, but you're praying she and sell you out and say, don't worry with he plain the baking bread, you forget the yeast. And so at times, we are called, my brothers and sisters, that while we are waiting on the harvest, we must exercise good patience. It teaches us that we must wait for the big chances. And big chances don't happen fast. It takes time. It takes time. So my brothers and sisters, we must be patient in the process so that it does not interfere with the harvest. And now more than ever, we must learn to wait on the harvest. We must learn to wait on God. We must learn to wait on one another. Too much busyness and hurriness taking place, and we want to enjoy a bountiful harvest. We can't rush it. We can't afford to rush the thing because you're going to miss something in between. The seed has to take time to grow and become into a place of a harvest. Because if you rush it, where are you going to unpick? Where are you going to pick? Sometimes you rush the growth so quick, you end up cutting it out. Because you're busy around the yard, cutting up everything. Cutting up everything. And so now more than ever, we also have to teach our younger generation how to wait on the harvest. We have to teach them that. The old saying, we had to stop put the cabai near the provision for it to ripe fast. The planting have to take its time to grow. And so in other words, when we look at our society today, we have to let the picnic them to grow, not force them. Today we are forcing our young boys and girls to become men and women too fast. Teach them to wait. Teach them to understand the stages of the seed, the seedling, and the crop, and the harvest. Because today, we are reaping a harvest because of the seeds you and I have planted and encouraged yesterday. And we cannot blame nobody else but ourselves. Because I hear it, and I'm sure you hear it. Parents saying it, grandparents saying it. I can't deal with him. I can't deal with her. Who's on? Who make him? Who bring him here? Oh, you mean you can't deal with him? Because when it is that we were supposed to sit down and talk with them and love them and embrace with them, we buy them the i17 Pro Max. We buy them the tablet. We buy them the Xbox or the PS5. We give it to them. I'm not saying don't give your children good things in life, you know. But you and I know that there are some things we need to say, hold on. Take your time. Life ain't running away from us. How many of us wanted to be 16? How many of us, we growing up, we want to be 16? Huh? Man, and when we reach 30, we start to cry. Oh, gosh. Much more for those when you reach 60 and you start to get some pain. They say, ah, boy, if I only know, I would have taken my time. My brothers and sisters, we are reaping a harvest today because of the seeds you and I have planted and encouraged yesterday. And so we must be willing to take our time with the seed and the seeds that are entrusted to us, so that we together can experience a story tomorrow that we can all be proud of. Not saying that we are not proud today, but in some spaces we need to do better. And there is still time for us to do better. Because what I mentioned earlier, every day is an opportunity for us to plant and for us to reap a good harvest. Even for us in the church today, what does our seed look like today? What our seed looks like today will tell of the harvest we experience tomorrow. St. John, your harvest looks the way it is today because of the seed you planted yesterday. And oh, St. John, you have planted good seed, and you are reaping a bountiful harvest. Go back to when your church was just a couple of years ago. Look at it today. We're in air-conditioned comfort. freshly painted, good altar, looking good, smelling good, feeling good. Now, only proud of all your own harvest there, man. That is song so. That is your work that you put in yesterday so that you are able to come today, not to show off, but to proclaim the goodness of God in your lives. And so you would have waited, St. John, you all waited years to get the work done. You waited on your Lord. And thanks be to God in the end, here we are today. And so every harvest must be a proclamation of God's goodness to us in spite of our challenges. Because we all have it. Whatever our challenges are, let it not interrupt our harvest tomorrow, God willing. But let it allow us to say, thanks be to God for all that He has done for me. And I am happy for it. Our harvest, my brothers and sisters, must be a testimony of God's faithfulness to us. And how then, after we experience God's faithfulness, how then do we commit? Those of us who are now looking in and coming in, and those of us who are already here, how do we recommit ourselves to the stewardship in God's church? And again, we must always make a note that when you hear stewardship, it is not only dollars and cents, but it is also our time, our talent, our treasure, our seed. What is that little gift that we have that we are able to come and offer so that it makes the worship better? You could sing, you could dance, you could play an instrument, you can read well, you can do oratory well, you can enhance the beauty of the place. What are you doing with your seed, my brothers and sisters? Are we looking at our seed and keeping it there, but then looking at others and saying, oh, wham to he, wham to she? But what he playing? But was she playing? Is she just reach? Well, yes, because if she just reach and she realized there's work to be done, then let her do it. If you sat down there 50 years and realize it is to be done and you ain't do it and somebody just come, let them do it. Their harvest will tell of a different story versus to yours. So you can't want to get vexed now when their harvest becomes bountiful. You can't want to watch them cocky eye and say, watch plain thing, watch them. What are you, what am I doing with my seed so as to produce a harvest tomorrow, my brothers and sisters? God has given all of us good seed. Can I say that again? God has given all of us good seed. How do we turn that good seed into the bountiful harvest? What do we do with the good things that God has given unto us? Do we do it like the one who got the talent and he buried it? Mash it down there and say, well, Master, you come back. Here you are. Or do we do like the one who said, okay, Master, if it's 5 you give me, I'll go in and see how best I could multiply that 5. Not for myself, And so today I found myself continuously saying that we have too many people in the church riding high on their egotistical horses and only doing things for themselves. And I want to say to us that we do not have room for that in the church. We have room for those who wish to multiply God's work and increase the work that is to be done. Not to self-pontificate self and say, well, because I could read well or because I could sing well, I could do it and I'm here so that if I don't do it, you can't get nobody else. That is not a good harvest. That is surely not a good seed, my brothers and sisters. How do we turn the good seed that God has given unto us, who we are, to become a bountiful harvest? In the midst of acknowledging and thanking God for all that He has done every day of our lives. Not every year around this time, July. Not only on our birthday or our wedding anniversary. But how do we, in the midst of reaping a harvest, acknowledge and thank God for all that He has done for us when? Every day of our lives. Because every day we are able to experience a harvest that we would have started yesterday. A harvest not only for us, but for all my brothers and sisters to share. And so in the end, my brothers and sisters, we are part responsible for writing our story. God is the author. But go back to the beginning. What we say, what we do, what we think is part of us narrating our story. The way we conduct ourselves and when people see us is the story that is being told on ourselves. So when people say something about us sometimes, we need to check ourselves and see if that is the energy we're pushing. Especially those of us who come and sup at the altar of Christ. Be mindful when you leave these doors, what you say, what you do, and what you think of each other. Because as little as it is, it becomes a big shrub. Is it going to be a big shrub of a problem? Or is it going to be a big shrub of good blessings that others will be able to come in and experience the same God that you come to experience? And so we are part responsible for writing our story and how our story looks and sounds in the end. I recall not too long ago, just the other day actually, when I was about 20, that's just the other day. Just the other day. I just happened to sleep and get up and sleep and get up. And I reach here. But just the other day when I was about that age, I was in a session with a group of young men, and the facilitator came to us, and he asked all of us to do an exercise. And I want to share it with you on how we look at our seed and experiencing our harvest. He said to us, at that age for me, 20, he said, I want to give you all 10, 15 minutes. Go in a corner, wherever you are in the room, and I want you to write your eulogy. Now, thanks be to God, I'm changed, I've matured, so he didn't really get the Reverend at that time's response. I was a different kind of seed now, you know? But thanks be to God, And I didn't understand that. I'm like, fella, something wrong there. What do you mean write me eulogy? I tell you I'm going to dead now? Where they get this madman from to come and tell us, a group of young men, this thing? And most of us in the room, we had a challenge with it. We had a challenge with it. And he sat us down again and he spoke with us. And he said, write your eulogy. Write what you want them to say about you at that funeral. And of course, it jerked at us. It pulled at us. It pulls. And he points out to us in the end, if anyone wants to share, feel free to share. A few of them shared. I did not share mine. I'm being honest. I ain't dead yet. Lord have plenty time for me again. But then he said to us, go and become that. Go and become what you want people to say about you. But bearing in mind that the eulogy will change as you grow in life. Some things are going to be left out. You know, in some funerals, it has some things you could very well leave out. And they just want to make sure they say everything and some. And so he told us, go and live it out. And so I say to us this morning, as we examine ourselves as seed, are we willing to tell the whole story to our children? Are we willing to tell them, no, Aunt? Stacy, you're watching me. But we want them to know how good God has been to us. Are we willing to tell them when we were down? Are we willing to tell them when we were hurting? Are we willing to tell them when we fought to become better? Are we willing to encourage them to do better? And so if we want to all experience a harvest, my brothers and sisters, check the seeds now. Now is the right time for us to check the seeds. Check the soil that it is in to see if it is in fertile soil. And there is a little time still that we could do some transplanting. That's what they call it. It has some time still where we could do some tilling of the soil to make sure that when we are going to experience a harvest, we experience a harvest of God's goodness, of God's kindness, of God's love, of God's mercy, of His salvation that has been poured out for us from the seed that He Himself has sent in the form of His Son, Jesus Christ. And it is because of that seed we have life, and we have it more abundantly today. But too many of us take it for granted, my brothers and sisters. We take the communion for granted. We take the Apostles' Creed for granted. We take the doxology for granted. We take the church for granted. And in essence, we take God for granted. But be careful. God is God. And when He wants to show Himself to be God, you could be how big of a tree, He gonna cut me down. That's the God we serve. So I want to encourage us. We have to do something while we are waiting and expecting the harvest. So if any of you wish, don't take it morbid or anything. Go write your eulogy now. Go write. Write and hear what you want people to say about you. And see, even if you are actually living that way already. so that the harvest will be a bountiful one. So what will your harvest, my brothers and sisters, look like? What type of seed do you have? But in the end, the choice is ours. I could preach until, Father Charles could preach until. We do our part, but the choice remains with you, with us. God already sent his Son. And so it is now our choice to either love him or not love him. It's our choice. So in the end, the choice is ours. And the hymn writer, in a bit we will sing, will call us to choose. And so I ask my brothers and sisters, as the hymn writer says, to choose with our mind on the Master. Make God your constant advisor. Strive to be his in thought, word, and deed. My brothers and sisters, harvest people, live every day with the Master. We can't live without him, you know. Live every day with the Master, and you will be sure to discover life lived with God is bound to succeed. Life lived with God is bound to succeed. And so it means that we will experience a good harvest story tomorrow through today's wise choices. So where will your heart and mind be fixed as you allow your seeds to grow into a harvest that is bountiful of God's richest blessing for all of us? May God continue to add his choicest blessings upon us in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.